Tesla shares had a rocky start in 2024, down more than 20% at one point, but they're now in positive territory, up 5% year to date. Let's talk about why. Doug Clinton with Deepwater Asset Management, he's a managing partner. He joins us now. Doug, why the turnaround? Welcome.
Well, thanks, Kelly, for having me. The turnaround, I think, is all about the narrative shift from the bears saying, look, the EV conversation was too overheated. We had too high of expectations in terms of how quickly consumers would adopt EVs. It feels like we've hit the trough of that disillusionment. And now we can see the other side of that path with Tesla returning to growth, easier comps. The street has them growing kind of near 20% for the next 2 years. That's piece number one. And then piece number two is we have a catalyst on August 8th, the new robotaxi event, and Tesla has always traded well and been pushed by new product announcements, where at this event we'll obviously see what they're doing with robotaxis, and we could also get potentially 3 new car announcements. So I think the bulls firmly have control of Tesla right now because of what's coming in the future. 3
new car announcements. I mean, we're still waiting on that, the Model 2. Cybertruck is kind of off to its start. What is the valuation right now? I was reading that. Is it north of like 90 times forward earnings right now?
If you believe in the street numbers, it's roughly in that range. And I think to your point about valuation, that's really probably the question you need to ask going forward. So if you're trying to play this for the next month, you're looking at just this August event, it's hard to see why the narrative would shift between now and then. After we see what Tesla comes out, then I think you have to ask that fundamental question. And I'll use NVIDIA as an analogy. You know, we've seen NVIDIA stock go up 200% over the last year. Their business has also grown 200% on the heels of very rapid AI demand for their products. I think the question we'll have to ask ourselves after the August 8th event is there a new product here, whether it's robotaxi, whether it's potentially new vehicles, that makes us re-rate how we think about the business by 50% or more, thinking about the stock going forward? Because to your point, the valuation, if nothing changes, does feel rich.
No, I think you have to credit them for all that they're doing on the AI self-driving, full self-driving robotaxi front, because if it weren't for that, the stock would be doing a lot more poorly. And I think there's an element of truth to both sides, both those who say, no, it's just a car company, in large part it is, but also those who say, no, it has transformative capabilities. I mean, there's people now letting their Teslas drive them around to a large extent, and that's something that no other car maker is currently making possible. Can they kind of keep that edge, though? I mean, especially given what's going on with a lot of the Chinese manufacturers.
I think they can keep the edge. To your point about FSD, I mean, they have hundreds of thousands of users using their full self-driving technology, and no other car manufacturer in the world can really say that they have that much real-world data, and data ultimately is what drives intelligence and AI. So they do have that advantage. I think that will be hard to overcome. And you look at some of the traditional automakers. I absolutely think the traditional automakers will have plays in EVs and with autonomy, but they've had struggles too. You know, they're not focused on it like Tesla is. It's only what Tesla does. It's what they focus on. The traditional automakers have to balance a legacy business with what they're doing in EVs. And we saw VW just recently closing plants in the EU around that.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to come from the legacy players, right? It's going to come from China, isn't it?
China is probably the best bet. They obviously have a lot of resources they're pushing toward this. BYD, I think, has good products. But again, I think when you think about innovation, you think about who is really at the forefront of driving the EV revolution forward. It's still Tesla, and I don't think that will change.